Welcome to Biotech Emporium.
Feed pellet quality is one of those things that most people choose to ignore. But, at what cost? The pelleting process is a process whereby energy is added to the mash to form a pellet that has a higher energy value than that of the original mash. The pelleting process increases the digestibility of nutrients that is available to the animal for digestion if done correctly. But, this is subject to proper time, temperature, and moisture control within the pelleting process. As a result, the animals require less time and energy to ingest the feed, leaving them with more energy to grow. To prove this fact, tests on 3 identical groups of lambs was done over a period of 120 days, and the results showed a 12.5% improvement in the growth rate of the group of lambs fed on pellets with a pellet durability index higher than 90%. During the experiment, 5 lambs per group were kept in identical enclosures for the duration of the tests. Group 1 was fed on the unprocessed mash, while Group 2 was fed on a pelleted version of that same mash. The pellets used for Group 2 had a pellet durability index that was higher than 90%, in other words, high-quality pellets. Group 3 was also fed on a pelleted version of the mash, but for this group we used a lower compression ratio on the die ring, no steam conditioning, and during cooling we decreased the retention time. This resulted in a pellet ration that had a pellet durability index of only 48%. A low-quality pellet. After the test, Group 2 showed a 12.5% increase in growth rate over Group 1, while Group 3 performed only 4.6% better than Group 1. The lambs from Group 3 proved that low-quality pellets will result in a hugely reduced growth rate compared to animals fed on quality pellets. In today's oversaturated market, some machine manufacturers are quick to tell any potential client that their machine will produce X amount of pellets per hour, but conveniently neglects to tell that client that those pellets will be of inferior quality. It is a fact that any pellet mill will produce more pellets per hour if the die ring compression ratio is reduced. This reduction in compression will also reduce the retention time and ultimately result in lower quality pellets. It is also possible to reduce the apparent compression ratio of a die ring by using fats or oils in the mixture. It is therefore extremely important that any pellet mill seller tell you exactly what mixture and compression ratio he based his capacity figures on, and what the resulting pellet durability index of those pellets are. We see far too many people who buy a pellet machine that was advertised as a 1 ton per hour machine only to find out that the machine can barely produce 200 kilograms per hour at the correct pellet durability index. You may also have a good quality machine, but if the mixture is not optimized for pelleting, you will also experience some pellet quality issues. Optimization of mixtures for pelleting is not something that is done by the person who compiles the recipe, but by a feed milling technologist. Pellet quality is dependent on several factors, but for the sake of this video we will only look at the main factors related to the process. In the bigger scope of things, processing makes up only 40% of the total pellet quality, while 60% of the pellet's durability index is dependent on the raw material that was used. As can be seen in the graph, only 25% of the pellet's durability index comes from the pellet press itself. Conditioning and cooling makes up a whopping 42%. Believe it or not, but up to 25% of the plants we visit to solve pellet durability and production capacity problems does not have either of these processes in place. Along with grinding, conditioning is one of the most important factors in achieving good pellet quality. The conditioning process adds thermal and mechanical energy to the mash. The steam, used during conditioning, disrupts the structure of the starch particles, and that causes gelatinization. The process of gelatinization creates natural glues which allow the feed particles to adhere to each other when passing through the pellet die. One of the most overlooked effects of conditioning is the plasticization effect that it has on the mash. Plasticity is a product's ability to deform and then stay in that new form. Think about playing clay. You can shape and mold it to heart's content, because it has high plasticity properties. Try the same with a piece of steel. Not so easy? The same principle applies to your pellet mill. The poor thing may be able to produce beautiful pellets with a properly conditioned product, but it may not be able to make a pellet from unconditioned straw that has almost no plasticity. The optimum retention time is the amount of time that is required for the heat and moisture to cook each feed particle in the ration. The higher the retention time, the greater the degree of gelatinization, improving the durability of the pellet. There are 2 places where retention time plays a big role. 1. In the conditioner for pre-cooking. And 2. In the die for final curing of the pellet. Miss either of these, and your pellets will have quality issues. A small machine with a high production capacity will have a noticeably short retention time, and, as a result, it will produce inferior quality pellets. This fact alone, blow all those fairy tales of cheap low-cost pellet mills with extremely high capacities right out of the water. Proper cooling and drying contributes 9% to the total quality of a pellet. Cooling a pellet too fast will recrystallize the starch molecules, and thereby lock in some of the available nutrients. While cooling the pellet too slowly can allow bacteria to start growing, causing all kinds of animal health issues. If you do not know your exact pellet durability index figures, your first step should be to determine that immediately, and then you can start to work on solving any issues. The best way to go about this is to call in a feed milling technologist who can test your pellets and advise you on the steps you should take to maximize your pellet quality while keeping your processing costs as low as possible. Biotech Emporium have more than 20 years of experience in the pellet industry. If you want to add value to the pellets that you produce, or if you want to improve your factory's production capacity, give us a call. Please remember to subscribe and like this video.